Hey everyone, welcome to Cooking with Castro. Today we'll be executing an all-time favorite sweet pastry of mine, the cinnamon roll, accompanied with homemade strawberry jam and sugar icing. First step for this recipe will be to heat up milk for our dough. The milk must be warmed to 110 degrees Fahrenheit to properly activate the yeast. The yeast we'll be using is active dry yeast. When using this type of yeast, there will be less room for error in the activation process. Using a digital thermometer, I'll check the temperature of the milk. Go ahead and add 3/4 of a cup of milk to the yeast. Using a wire whisk to properly incorporate it. Set aside for 10 minutes, and then next step will be to weigh out our dry ingredients in a separate bowl. Measure out 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour into a bowl. Accompanying the flour will be 3 1/4 teaspoons of salt. Using a whisk again to properly incorporate our dry ingredients. For our milk and dry mixture, we'll need 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. Use a separate bowl to separate the yolk from the egg white, making sure to only add the egg yolk to the whole egg. We'll need melted butter for 2 parts in this recipe. Go ahead and dice up some unsalted butter into a pan to get melted. Now back to finishing our dough. Add the eggs to the milk mixture. Also to be mixed in will be 1/4 of a cup of melted butter. Once we have all liquid ingredients mixed in, we can now add the dry ingredients in small portions using a wooden spoon to slowly fold in the dry ingredients. You don't want a big mess everywhere, so working with patience will be rewarding at the end. I'm using a rubber spatula to scrub the wooden spoon and the sides of the bowl to properly mix our dough. The texture of the dough you're looking for in the bowl will be soft, a bit wet, with some resistance. The dough will now be transferred to a floured surface to be kneaded for roughly 5 to 7 minutes. The texture of the kneaded dough should be smooth and soft. If the dough becomes too dry and hard, you'll have an overworked dough and it won't proof properly, creating an improper roll. Once our dough is kneaded, we can transfer it to a bowl that has been greased up for the first proof. We'll also cover the dough with a damp towel. Get the dough in an off oven to proof at room temperature for about an hour. While our dough proofs, we can make our filling, jam, and icing. In a separate bowl, we can begin making our filling for the rolls. Go ahead and get 2 1/3 cup of dark brown sugar in the bowl. You can also use regular granulated sugar or light brown sugar. The major difference will be the color of the rolls. We're gonna need 1 1/2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. Use a fork to mix these ingredients together. Using the butter we melted from earlier, add 1 1/4 cup of butter into the sugar mix. Next step will be to make our icing. It literally consists of only 2 ingredients. Yes, only 2. You need 10x confectioner sugar and water. The recipe I'm using is 1 cup of 10x and 1/4 cup of water. Mix until you've reached a creamy-like consistency that'll be drizzled over our rolls. We can now begin our homemade strawberry jam. We have some store-bought strawberries, the Driscoll brand. Get them through a thorough rinse and remove the stems of a 1/2 pound of fresh strawberries. Give the 1/2 pound of clean strawberries a medium dice or rough chop. Transfer the chopped strawberries into a pan with 1 cup of brown sugar and the juice of only half a lemon. Allow the jam to come to an aggressive boil and let it cook for about 7 minutes. Place the jam in the fridge to cool off. Once our hour of proofing the dough has passed, remove it from the oven. The dough should have doubled in size. Place the dough into a floured surface to be worked one more time. Grab a wooden rolling pin and flour the pin to prevent it from sticking with the dough. What we're trying to achieve is a rectangular sheet that is even so we can fill it and roll it evenly. Go ahead and use a petty knife to make the sheets even, trimming off each side. Use a brush to add in the butter to cover the entire surface of the sheet. Go ahead and sprinkle the filling to cover the entire sheet. Once it's fully covered, we can now roll up our cinnamon rolls. The first roll is more of a tuck. Once you've achieved a nice roll tuck, the next step is pretty much self-explanatory. Keep rolling with sensitivity and finesse. Once you have it all rolled up, we are ready to portion. Using the brush again to grease the tray. Use a knife to pre-mark the portions. With a sharp serrated knife, slowly slice through the roll, making each slice as consistent as possible. Get all rolls on the tray and cover with a damp towel to be proofed for 20 minutes in an off oven. Bake the rolls for 60 minutes in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven, and voila, cinnamon rolls. Get the rolls on a plate, drizzle on the icing, give each roll a spoonful of strawberry jam, maybe a bit more icing. Yeah, there you go. Now we have done it. Cinnamon rolls with strawberry jam and icing. It looks really rustic. I really enjoy it, and this is my favorite part of the video where I get to taste it. Yep, that's it. That's the roll I like. That's good. Thank you for tuning in with Cooking with Castro. We'll see you next time.